Hello. Welcome back to another Freedom Raveware podcast. My name is Carly, and I am here with our graphic designer, Maureen. Is that your official title? Graphic designer?
It's Director of Creative Operations.
Okay, I like that one more. Director of Creator and Operations, Maureen.
That's me.
Hello. Welcome. You're not from here.
I'm not from here. I'm
Where
from
are you
Ohio.
Ohio.
Yeah. I'm an Ohio stan.
Born and raised.
Yeah, oh yeah. That's I'm from like the Cleveland suburbs. I've been living there my whole life. I went to college in Ohio, like 3 hours south, which is like a big deal. And not really. And then I have just basically stayed there ever since. I love it, which sounds psychotic to a lot of people. Where am I looking? Sorry.
You can look anywhere you would like.
Okay, I'm like, there's two things.
He's like,
chill. I have a conversation with you.
Have you ever you've seen The Office, right? Like
Yeah.
This is like that Office camera. Like when you
yeah, thank you for that. That's actually
That's
very
like the
helpful,
perfect
so.
explanation. Sorry. God, Maureen. Alyssa was like, yeah, you can do the podcast with Carly as long as you guys think you can stay on topic. And I'm like, she's not the problem. I'm the problem.
Little do they know I didn't take my ADHD meds today.
This was yesterday
And this is the first time I've forgotten to take my meds because I know like how much of an issue I am without them. So I've been doing pretty good today. I would say for like, I've gotten my tasks done. Like I'm feeling very.
Yeah, you've been pretty on it today.
Thank you. Anyways, welcome back.
Thank you.
So you are a current designer, and the funny thing about you is that you live in Ohio, but I want to hear like the story about how you got started with Freedom, because obviously we're a California-based company. Mm-hmm. So how did that come to fruition?
So I've been a Freedom supporter since probably 2015.
Was that like the first time you like had bought Freedom, or
Yes.
was it the first time that okay. So,
Yeah. So I started really getting into Raveware around then.
Yeah.
And because I've been raving since 2011 because I'm old.
You know, you're just an OG.
Yeah.
Veteran
That's a nice
raver.
way to put it. That's a nice way to put it. AKA I'm sitting in the back all of the time.
Are you a VIP person now?
No, God, no. I'm still GA, but I'm on the ground.
She's a humble queen.
I'm on the ground or I'm on the rail. There's really not a ton of in between in that.
Yeah. That traveling though,
Yes.
of getting there, that must be pretty hard.
Well, I'm a rail camper. If I'm there for as long as my legs can hold me, and then I'm back on the ground sleeping or being horizontal.
Okay.
But aside the point, so I started getting into Raveware real heavy back in 2015, just because I love every bit of Raveware, of just how eclectic it is and how loud and bold and obnoxious you can be, and you could just do whatever, and everyone's like, slay, queen, stop. So in 2020, I got super bored, and I was like,
As a lot of us did, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
okay.
I wanted a way to stay connected to the rave scene, obviously, while all we had were drive-ins. And at that time, I previously worked at a newspaper, which I really loved. I did layout design and infographics from them. So basically taking super complex topics and boiling them down into really easy to understand graphics, statistics and stuff like that. And I loved it, but I had kind of capped out there. I was as high as I could go, and I kind of wanted to expand elsewhere. So I actually started designing jewelry for a different rave company.
Yeah.
And then I made a fabric print, and I sent it to her, and she was like, oh, this is great, but I can't make my own fabric, but you should send it to Freedom Raveware. And I at that point, I was like, whoa, you think that they'll respond? Do you think they'll like me?
And so this is 2011.
This is
2020. Okay, so this is when we've made it known that we are a business. Okay, cool.
Yes. So I was like that, and swooned, love Freedom, still screen capped it every time I got reposted, so excited. And so I sent this print to Alyssa.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, this is great. We could probably get this on some fabric, but do you want another design project, in the meantime? And I was like, yeah, please. So she gave me a collab project they were working on with Little Black Diamond at the time, which was called Metamorphosis. And it was like
Oh, wow. Okay.
trippy and cutie little butterflies. And it was like a activewear, loungewear line.
Yeah.
Really cute, like leggings that like tie in the back and like crop tees that tie in the back.
Adorable. Love.
Loved it. Yeah. So I did that print, and then we released the print that I made, which was called Rave to the Grave. And it's kind of like like vaporwave little icons of like cutie little rave things like candy and headphones and stuff like that. And that released in December of 2020. And I was just like so excited. We only did a couple pieces, but like
And were you employed at this point, or were you just doing like freelance work?
just doing a little bit of freelance work, but like straight up that, it's the middle of the pandemic. So they're like, well, we're not really in a position to like bring you on as a designer. And I'm like, honestly, at that point I was like, I'm just putting my toes in the water and seeing what sticks. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I want to see. And they're like, yeah, but we're happy to have you design for us. Just, we can't really offer you much right now. We're in the middle of a pandemic. I'm like, that's totally fine. This is just fun. I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
So we did those few prints, and Alyssa was like, well, work on some other things, and, feel free to send something when you have it. So then from about January till probably like March or so, when
Of 2021.
21, yeah, I had, I was working on an idea that I had in my head, and I finally sat down the one night and just did the entire collection in one night. It was my first go of it.
I have a feeling I know what collection it is.
You very well may.
Okay. Was it a hit collection?
It was.
Y'all know this collection too, because this collection we just re-released as well.
Did we really?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, hell yeah. I love that.
I think if it's the collection I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But continue.
Sorry. So basically I sent the collection idea to Alyssa, and as a designer, I've done freelance things before where, I sent something and they're like, well, this is good, but change this. And this is over here.
Yeah.
And maybe you want to do this here. And I sent it to her and she was like, it's flawless. And I was like,
Absolute tea. Wait, really?
Yes. And I was like, okay. They waited a couple months later. They released it. You guys know it is Toxic. It is a split green and black kind of like grunge biohazard design. I loved the design because I feel like it works for so many like festival vibes. You know what I mean? Like
So many.
it could work for so many different things. And we released it in July of 2021.
Okay.
And
I'm thinking timeline.
I know, that's what I'm like pointing to. We released it in July of 2021. It got a lot of hype on social media before we released it, so I was really excited.
Yeah.
And I was actually on my way to Reunion, which was like, we call it Diet Lost Lands, like basically like the baby Lost Lands they had in the summer of 2021 before the real Lost Lands, since we didn't get to do it in 2020 because Legend Valley is like 2.5 hours away from my house, so it's like real.
It's like us for the NOS Event Center.
Basically.
Okay.
It's literally right there. So I was literally just left my house and I was driving on my way down to like my first festival back pretty much.
Yeah.
And I was all sorts of amped, like the collection's doing well, like everyone's excited about it, all this and that. And Mike called me and he was like, do you want a full-time job? And I was like,
Wait, what?
absolutely. Which is great because at the time I was having some issues aside from like, just feeling capped out at my regular job too. There were some
Things. Experiences.
Yeah. Some not fun things, but that's, so when he called that, first of all, that's like dream job. Like I get to make Raveware for a living. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So that was in July. We kind of worked through negotiations for like the next month and a half of trying to figure out the logistics of, because I told him straight up, like I'm an Ohio stan. Like I'm not going to move to California. My family's here. My friends are here.
Yeah.
Like, but this is my home base. This is all I'm happy to come out for business trips, but like, this is where I want to stay. We worked it all out and they brought me on right at the end of August, and that's the rest is history.
Almost like 3 years.
Yeah. It'll be 3 years this August, which is like wild.
And do you know off the top of your head how many collections you have released with your own designs?
Oh, Jesus. No, I have no idea.
Do you have a number one in your brain right now that is like your favorite?
Toxic is my baby. That's because she was my first.
Yeah, she was
just the moment we re-released it in different colorways.
Yeah,
like
'cause we
over the years we just did again in different styles.
Yep.
Like, and it's a timeless kind of collection. I love that. That's definitely my top favorite just because it was my first.
Do you get recognized and people come up, or do you go up to them and go, I know this is crazy, but I made that design for Freedom Raveware, and I'm so excited to see you. Like, do you go up and talk to people?
I don't, but my friends love to.
Oh yeah,
They
if I was next to you, I'd be like,
literally. when we were at reunion and I had just gotten that job offer, I was with my two closest friends. And I wore Toxic to reunion. Alyssa had sent it to me beforehand, and it had just dropped like 2 days before. So like,
really?
Everyone who saw me wearing it was like, she must have something to do with it, because how do you get it that quick? You know what I mean?
Yes.
And we'd be like walking around and somebody'd be like, oh my God, your outfit. My friends would be like, she made it. She made the whole thing. She's gonna work for Freedom Raveware. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, but like also was excited, but like I'm always, sometimes I'll use it like as a talking point, or like I love to give out like little gifts and stuff like that. Yeah, like when I was at the summoning this year, like every time I saw somebody in like a Freedom outfit, I'd give them like a little cutie, little plushie, or well, I let them pick, because you know, sometimes you want a little plushie, sometimes you want a squishy, sometimes you want something you can make noise with, you know, so I let people pick. But it's always fun to like just, you know, say, hey, like, you know, I love your outfit, like I designed that, you know, so I will for sometimes, but not a lot. I just kind of like to take it all in. I was telling Mike this year at Lost Lands when we did our meetup, there was like 50 something people there. It was like a shit ton of people. Well, it looked like a shit ton of people.
Yeah.
And I literally just like stood and like turned in a circle clockwise, and like every direction I looked, there was somebody wearing something that I had designed. And I'm just like, of course I forgot to take my meds. So I'm like sobbing, like in the middle of the festival. And everyone, my friend was like, are you okay? I'm like, I just made all these ways. I just didn't know I'd be doing this thing. And no one said I could, and I did. And she's like, okay. Do you want a hug?
Did you get a hug?
I did.
You did?
I did.
Of course.
It was a moment.
That feeling of just taking every single particle of that moment in and realizing that you did something that impacted so many other people.
Yes.
That also are within the same industry that means so much to you. I would be like on the floor, like convulsing.
And that's like the thing that gets me is like somebody worked really hard at their job to make money to then spend it on something my brain created. Like that blows my mind to me still, you know? It like me as a little baby artist is like, we did it, little girly. Cause like when I was a little kid,
I
like,
literally got chills because of that. Like that's because it's like inner like child healing.
It is because, you know, I grew up for, you know, when you tell, what do you want to be for when you grow up? I want to be an artist. And, you know, some adults in my life were like, you're not going to make money doing that. Because when you think artist, you think painter or sculptor or anything like that. But even then, like you can, but like I was told my whole life growing up, like you can't be an artist. That's not a good career. Like I remember very distinctly like playing the game of life, like with my parents growing up, and getting like the artist card and then drawing like the $100,000 salary card and be like, yeah, I'm winning. And they'd be like, that's unrealistic. And it's just kind of like so many people throughout my life, like, you know, you feel like you're boxed into these things of like, oh, well, you have to move, you know, either to California or New York or something if you want to make it big anywhere, or you have to sell your soul and go corporate in order to like have any sort of success as a designer. Like all of these, like you have to do this, or you can't do that, or you can't do this. And it's like, but can I?
Yeah.
Because what are we doing? That and it's like the coolest job ever. What do you do for a living? I design Raveware.
Yeah. It's kind of a little bit of a flex, I'm not gonna lie.
Like it's the coolest thing in the world. Like it's fun to explain it to, you know, people who don't rave or boomers, where it's like, what do you do? And I was like, I make
literal clothes that people wear to festivals.
Apparel for fashion. Music festival fashion.
I think one of the number one things that I have to tell people when they're like, what do you do? And I was like, I work for a retail company. My uncle, for example, love him to death. He's like, no, but what's the company? I'm like, because he is an investigator and I just don't personally why I'm looking that specific thing up.
Like, we don't
but
need
I'm
to
like,
look.
but also like it's the explaining to like them. Like sometimes it's just a little bit too far off. So I'm like, but my aunt though, who's literally married to him, I'm like, oh, look at this picture, look at this. But it's just, it's two separate like opinions or generations that like just don't quite understand. Like my grandma, for example, I'm like, I do basically sales. And she's like, oh. And I'm like, she's like, well, what do you do? I'm like, well, I do digital marketing. She's like, well, what is that? I'm like, so like in like a text message that you receive from a company, she's like, I don't even know how to use the remote. So like it, you just like, it's like a generational
She's like,
thing.
sure, whatever, honey. That's great for you. You know, and that's how my mom is with the whole Raveware thing is like, I grew up in a very like conservative Catholic family.
Oh, really?
So like the level of exposure that occurs in Raveware is like for sure not her favorite.
Yeah.
But she is like my number one supporter in literally everything. And she's always, you know, like, oh, that's great. You know, like I can, she's trying, she's working on it and she's getting there. And like, I can always tell.
And that's all you can ask.
Exactly. But it's cute though, because she'll be like, you know, I want to wear one of your prints, but can you make it in like a shirt or something like that? Or do you guys make golf polos? Maybe I can wear it on the golf course. And I'm like, yeah, you. She's like the best.
You're like, we'll get you in a teaser immediately, Mom. Let's put some wrist bottoms on the golf course.
She is 73, and that will be a hard no. That will be a hard no.
From her or from you?
Both.
Porque no les dos?
But she's really, and my dad too, who like also doesn't really get it, but like, which is funny because I live with him. So like he sees me like sitting in front of the computer all day that he just thinks I'm like playing around. And I'm like, how do you think the bills get paid, homie G? What do you think we're doing
when
here?
I pay you rent every month.
Right. Or like I'll show him sometime like, look at this thing I made. And he'll be like, oh, that's something.
You're like that.
My thanks. I know that's kind of a compliment, but you know,
it is something.
But he's a millennial, or not millennial. He's a boomer man. So like emotions, we don't know her. You know, like we don't know.
So you started as a full-time designer.
Yes.
And have you like changed positions? Like has your job responsibilities changed so far? Like what does like your day-to-day look like now compared to when you first started?
It was basically the same for almost the entire time until the past couple months when we have brought Miss Silver kind of a little bit more into the design world, which has been great. Because for the first time, I have like somebody working with me to, you know, put out designs and bounce ideas off of, which has been great. Angel and I did that a little bit in the past, but you know, our first responsibilities kind of came first, and he was on printer and I was in design. So it did that. And again, the distance, it doesn't happen too often. So it's been great to work more directly with her. But basically, you know, I see the collection from, you know, the initial idea all the way through to markers, which are basically like you put a bunch of, like, let's say we're doing bikini tops. Like you put as many bikini tops as you can fit on a big piece of fabric, or which is really just like a big art board. And then I PDF it and I send it to the printer, and then they do all their magic with it and it becomes clothing. So basically what I was doing before was, you know, brainstorming, coming up with a concept, putting it in a mock-up. So like kind of laying it over pieces of clothing. So Alyssa would see like, this is what it would look like. This is what I'm thinking.
Okay.
From there, I make the base styles. So I'll take like a small or an extra small in every one of the styles Alyssa wants to use in that collection and put the design on it.
Yeah.
And then once she approves all of those, or if we run test prints if we have to make sure that like things are falling in the right place, then I make all 8 sizes, most of the time 8 sizes. Some of them are only 5 or 6, but most 8 sizes in each style of that print. And then I do put those styles into markers so it can get pretty. So it's like you have, let's say a collection has 10 pieces.
Yeah, which can be like a bikini top, a high-waisted bottom, a wrist bottom, a side boob, a hood, a pashmina. Like it's not just, oh, we're just going to throw this on here. It's like the designs are so specific and unique to each individual size and shape of the design itself.
So 90% of like what I do is not like making cool things and brainstorming new ideas. It is making, what is that? So I said, if it's 10 styles, there's eight sizes per style. So that's 80 pieces of clothing.
Yep.
And then from there, I make 80 markers, one for each piece of clothing.
Which,
so
how long does an average marker take? Tell the audience.
It depends. So if it's like a smaller piece, something that's a little bit more simple, like a bikini top or arm sleeves or gloves, something like that, it'll save pretty quick. So like a marker probably will take maybe like 5 to 10 minutes. But if it's like
5 to 10 minutes now in comparison to what was it before?
Oh, Jesus, God in heaven. Well, we didn't, to clarify, when I started here,
We didn't have markers.
we didn't know what we were doing. I don't know if you can use that, but
No, you're allowed to say that.
we had no, as a company, like we had just started doing, a Toxic was one of our first engineered prints. Like I think they had done one before I had come here.
Yeah.
And when it came to setting up markers and setting up flats and everything and how much space they're going to take and how much space it's going to take to save and transfer, because again, I'm uploading from Ohio to a server so it can be re-downloaded. So it's not only the time it takes to save, but then the time it takes for it to upload onto my cloud and then for Armando to download off of his. So it's this huge process and all of these little moving gears that in the beginning we were like, so like my first computer that I had, it would probably take like anywhere from like 20 minutes.
It was like,
it sounded like it was going to take off for the moon, basically. But it was brand new too, but it just didn't have the capacity to, Macy has it now. It actually works great if you're not loading massive files on it. It's wild.
Yeah.
But it was taking like 20 to 40 minutes to save one marker, which like, if you have any sort of like neurospiciness, that's danger zone. Do you know how many places, how many places can your brain go in 20 to 40 minutes unattended while you can't use your computer because it's saving, and if you open a web browser, it'll crash it. So like my productivity was it was taking a million years to make these collections. Finally got a laptop that is, I was like, I want the highest this, the highest, I don't even know what the specifics are. I was like, I just want all of it at once, all of the highest, most complex storage shit. And now it works really easily. Silver, I'll have some issues too sometimes, but like the smaller pieces, real quick save. Sometimes it'll be less than a minute, maybe a couple minutes max. My problem children, like the goddess bodysuit and the bell sleeves and swirl skirts, anything that's, because those things are massive. Like if you ever put those pieces of clothing like out on your floor and see how big it is, like that's how big my document is at the very least, like on the computer.
So your problem child is within the markers.
Typically, that's where it takes the longest time to save, is the bigger pieces. So bell bottoms, leggings, bell sleeves.
The full jumpsuit.
I haven't done one of those yet.
Have you done?
Will be a problem when I do.
Did you do the cat suit?
Cat suit?
Because that's a big ass marker.
It is, but like with those bigger sizes, there is only one of them like on the marker. So like the cat suit for some odd reason is not as bad. I don't know what it is with the big sleeves, the bell sleeves. Nightmare.
Well, it's because isn't the fabric like expanding?
It's a circle. It's a giant oval is what it is. So it's basically this massive oval that's probably like half the size of half the size of my body that I'm designing on. So it takes up all of this massive space. And for some odd reason, with the way that things transfer over, sometimes the bell sleeves don't come over. They come over like baby size. So I have to make sure that they're the right size. It literally just shrinks itself down, but it doesn't tell you that. And we didn't realize that until Alyssa was like, why do I have toddler bell sleeves? And I was like,
that's a great question. Didn't know we were releasing a new children's line.
They were like
children's Rave line.
They were like this big.
Oh my God.
I was like, okay. So that's markers is normally what flats and markers take the longest.
Yeah.
Depending on the collection, flats can always take longer too, because as the sizes get bigger, and I'm learning too still. It's been 2 years, but like I'm still continuously figuring things out. So I'll start designing with the small, but then don't necessarily take into account that by the time you get up to a 2X, we went from this width to this width. So if I make the design only this wide, then I'm constantly expanding it and it's not working.
Yeah.
So now I try to design wider so that as the sizes get bigger, I'm not, I hit a large, then I have to go back and I have to add things and I have to tweak this and I have to move this over here and then I have to expand it out.
Versus shrinking.
Correct. Or not even shrinking, but just even having the space get a little bit smaller. It's been a learning experience going forward through that. But to circle back to your initial question, the way that my day has changed now is Silver's being brought on to take some of the marker work off of my back, which I am so grateful for. And it's been great to be able to just have a little bit more wiggle room to do more ideation and brainstorming and try to figure out the thing that I'm working on, or I'll be working on today, is basically like trying to find ways, or basically coming up with like a master guide of different line movements, I guess you can say, on like a piece of clothing. So like, how can we make the chest look emphasized with the design that I'm doing? How can we make, basically how everything flows on a bodysuit, how like primal, for example, how everything kind of like works together. That's another one of my favorites that, quite frankly, is because of its like neutral tones. I didn't think people would be like love, but like it popped off and I was so glad for that, because
I came around right when I think neutral became such a large trend in the rave scene, because before I felt like it was very mermaid-esque,
yes,
unicorn-esque, just over the top, like fluffy, colorful, and like now it's becoming very neutral, Wookiee, like hippie-ish.
Yes, and I want to do more of that. And I've brainstormed a few more prints to do a little bit more of that, because like of course I love my bold colors, but like I love like a good like earthy green and a nice copper too. So like I definitely want to do more of that. But basically just what I'll be doing more of is just kind of like studying like what's the best way to like lay things out, because I'm also really good at overthinking things. So like my go-to when I start a print is I'll start it, and if I don't nail it or am on the road to nailing it within the first 10 or 15 minutes, I get pissed and then I go do something else.
So you have like 1,000 designs just like in your back pocket that are ready to be just absolutely explored.
Hundreds in my brain.
That's
Are
amazing.
they on paper? No. There's at least, I think I have 7 right now that I started and got mad at and have yet to go back to.
I love that though.
But that's just how I work, because then I'll take some time away from it and then I'll go back to it. And like, that's what happened last year with our Lost Lands print, is I was working on it on and off for like 2 or 3 months. Wasn't getting anywhere on it.
Yeah.
Went back to it EDC weekend when I was at home, like watching all the live streams, and I cranked it out. Just done.
So I understand that. Oh, let me rephrase this. So it takes you it can take you a few months for a design, and I know that you got a ton in your back pocket. What are you currently working on right now? And like what have been your most recent designs? What are you most excited for right now?
So my most recent that just released was Inkwork.
Inkwork eats.
I was really excited about that one because I really love like the like black and pastel color like juxtaposition where it's like, grungier elements. So like it's pretty edgy, but it's also like you can also make it cute. Like I wore it to Thunderdome. I love when Alyssa lets me wear collections before they come out. I feel like such a cool fucking kid.
That photo, we'll insert it for the YouTube. Eats.
Thank you. Thank you. And shouts out to Silver for styling that teaser top initially with the underbust corset, because that is the vibe of the century. Because I literally found one company that makes those underbust corsets in every color. I already own it in 4. And it is the way to go. But that was my most recent one. That was kind of inspired with, I keep seeing everybody with all these like little patchwork tattoos, and like how big that is right now. And I was like, what if we took that theme and just ran with it, covered an outfit in it. But like I tried to place some of the things in the areas where I've seen a lot of people have tattoos, like right here, underneath the chest, like right on your rib cage. A couple like right on your forearm, on your upper arm. Like some people do bigger shoulder pieces. Like I tried to kind of like incorporate it into that, but like still keep it cutie. I just did a dragon print yesterday. So
excited to see that.
dragons are my favorite. Love dragons. I loved doing Forbidden last year, so I definitely wanted to do another one this year.
That's good.
We're waiting for it to come off the printer to see how the colors hold up, and if they hold up good, then we'll be proceeding forward with that. Another project I really liked last year was Vampira.
Vampira was cool.
I love my odd stuff. Vampires and dragons are my two favorite things in the world. So that was dope to work on. I just have I was working on a little fairy house print at one point. I'm mad at it right now though. We have a celestial kind of theme print that I'm also mad at right now. Go back to that. There's a lot.
There's a lot
that I'm mad with, but when I figure it out, they will be banging and everyone will love them. But you just got to let me work it out of my brain. Alyssa's let me see your progress. And I'm like, it's not done yet.
Don't look at it.
That's literally, I did it to her 3 times yesterday. And she's like, okay.
She's like, all righty. Well, do you have any tips for any future designers and just anything at all for anybody designing who is listening currently for our audience? Something you would tell yourself?
Yeah. Don't let people tell you what you can and cannot do. Mm-hmm. I am fueled by spite, luckily for me. So when people are like, you can't do that, or you can't make it, or you artist doesn't make enough, watch me, fuck off. So I'm grateful for that. But don't be boxed in by the ideas of other people, of somebody saying, well, you can't do this like that, or you have to move, or you have to do this. You can make things work if you work hard enough at it, or you can make things work your way. Mm-hmm. And second of all, for any artist or anybody looking to make a job change or work into a separate industry, or for me, I literally went from newspaper and infographics, statistics and modular layout to Raveware. So that was a big jump. And it was, mine was pretty quick, 6 to 9 months in the making of me working my full-time job and doing, Raveware design in my spare time. Every waking moment that I had spare went to figuring out how this works, doing research, pushing myself into a different creative direction. Mm-hmm. And my biggest thing that I tell people is they're like, well, that job doesn't pay, or it's just an internship, or it's not, compensation is just, for freedom, they warn me up front. This is not a paid position. We can send you a few outfits. And I'm like, absolutely. But just know that if you're trying to break into a specific industry, you're gonna have to work for free for a little bit. Yep. It's a test run for them to make sure that they want to take that, the company that they want to take that chance on you and that you're worth it. And that's definitely your biggest time to show them I will be an asset and I promise you, and this is how. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's an important thing for everybody to kind of learn and understand, is that that is the best way to get in places. And make sure you give yourself mental breaks too, because being an artist as a full-time job is everything I've ever wanted in my life, but also sometimes I need a mindless task. You know what I mean? I need to shut the creativity down for a little bit, and that's the one reason why I don't mind flats and markers, is because it's just boop 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 boop. It's nothing that I'm using the creative side of my brain for, but I'm still getting a win. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm still I'm
you get to highlight that little task.
Exactly. I'm being productive, and it's especially helpful when I'm stuck on a concept. So,
well, where can we find you, Maureen?
Instagram is where I live the most. It's Momo_Dubs. That is me. And I think I'm also on Schmick, but I think that's on its way out, isn't it?
No.
No?
I wouldn't say so.
Okay.
Because I'm going to buy it out.
Oh, perfect. Wonderful. Because they're move to Clapper. And I'm like, that sounds like a person with chlamydia, but okay.
Anyways, Maureen, thank you for another episode.